Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into the massive shockwave that just hit the tech world, all thanks to DeepSeek, a new player in the AI arena. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with all the latest developments in tech. So, DeepSeek, a company based in China, just unveiled their RI model. It's an AI program that's seemingly performing at the same level as the major players like Nvidia. But here's the kicker. They developed it for a fraction of the cost. We're talking millions compared to hundreds of millions.
What's really caught everyone's eye is the immediate impact this price difference had on the market. Nvidia, a company almost synonymous with high-performance AI, saw its market value plunge by nearly $600 billion in a single day. That's the biggest single-day loss ever recorded for a U.S. company, and it really underscores the level of anxiety among investors.
Yeah, it's a serious wake-up call. Investors are definitely reevaluating their positions. They're realizing that achieving groundbreaking results in AI might not require the massive budgets we've come to expect from companies like Nvidia.
It goes beyond just the financial aspect, though. This situation exposes what Jason Thomas, head of global research at Carlyle, refers to as concentration risk. Basically, investors have been so fixated on a small group of tech giants, especially in AI, that they've become susceptible to any disruption that threatens that dominance.
So are we seeing the beginning of the end for big tech's seemingly unstoppable growth? I mean, Nvidia and others have had an incredible run, driving market optimism and pushing valuations through the roof.
It's definitely a possibility. Benny Krishna from Barclays has pointed out that a significant portion of the S&P 500's growth has been driven by the massive earnings of these tech giants. If their dominance is truly in jeopardy, those earnings could take a hit, leading to market instability and lower growth expectations across the board.
And Richard Bernstein, CEO of Richard Bernstein Advisors, has even suggested that 2025 could signal a return to a more normal market. By that, he means that the concentrated success we've seen in a few key players might start to dissipate as competition intensifies and the landscape becomes more balanced.
The initial market response seems to support that idea. We saw significant drops in both the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 right after DeepSeek's announcement, a clear sign of how closely investor confidence was linked to the continued success of those major tech companies.
It looks like the market's realizing that the playing field might be leveling. But this goes beyond just stock prices, right? DeepSeek's emergence also challenges the whole idea of U.S. dominance in tech, particularly in AI.
Absolutely. If a Chinese company can develop cutting-edge AI for significantly less, it really calls into question the assumption of American exceptionalism in this field. And this has implications that extend far beyond just Nvidia.
Exactly. If DeepSeek's cost-effective approach proves sustainable, it could force the entire tech sector, especially those heavily invested in AI, to reconsider their business models and spending.
That's the big question, isn't it? Is this just a temporary blip or a sign of a fundamental shift? And if it is a major shift, how will the established players adapt? Will they be forced to lower prices, focus on developing even more advanced technologies to stay ahead, or will we see a move towards more collaborative approaches?
These are all great questions, and ones we'll likely be wrestling with for a while. But one thing's for sure, DeepSeek has shaken things up. The tech sector and even the global tech landscape may never be the same.
Now, while the immediate impact on the market has been quite traumatic, there are some analysts who are starting to view the situation as a potential opportunity.
Interesting. What are they seeing that others might be missing? What are the potential upsides to this disruption?
Well, for one, some are pointing to DeepSeek's claims of drastically lower production costs. They're suggesting this could lead to a democratization of AI technology.
Democratization. What exactly does that mean in this context?
It means that access to this kind of advanced AI could become much more widespread. If DeepSeek can deliver comparable performance at a fraction of the cost, it opens up opportunities for smaller businesses, startups, even individual researchers.
That could be revolutionary. Imagine if a whole new wave of innovators suddenly had access to these tools.
Precisely. It could spark an explosion of creativity and innovation, with people from all walks of life being able to utilize AI to solve problems and create new solutions. It's potentially very exciting, though of course we need to be mindful of the potential downsides as well.
That makes sense. I'm thinking about ethical considerations and the possibility of misuse. We've already seen how AI can be used for both good and bad, and as it becomes more powerful and more accessible, those concerns only become more pressing.
You're absolutely right. Moving forward, it's vital to have frank and open discussions about responsible AI development, ethical guidelines, and appropriate regulatory frameworks. The question isn't just who can build the most advanced AI, but how do we guarantee that this technology is used in a way that ultimately benefits humanity?
It's a lot to think about, but I think the main takeaway here is that this situation with DeepSeek is just one chapter in a much larger story that's still unfolding.
Exactly. This is a time of significant transition, and it's a reminder that we need to be proactive in shaping the future of AI.
And that we need to stay informed and engaged.
Speaking of staying informed, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll continue to closely monitor this story and bring you all the latest developments as they happen. Stay tuned for part 2. You know, it's interesting to think about the psychological effect this whole thing has had, too. Well, for years, there's been this unwavering confidence, maybe even a bit of complacency surrounding the U.S.'s position as the leader in tech, especially when it comes to AI.
Yeah, there's been this assumption that American companies just have the resources, the talent, the infrastructure, to stay ahead of the game.
But DeepSeek's challenge disrupts that narrative. It really throws a wrench into things and forces us to question some of those assumptions we've held about the global tech landscape. It's like a reality check, a reminder that innovation can sprout up anywhere and that the competitive landscape is constantly shifting under our feet.
Exactly. And that uncertainty can ripple through the whole market. Investors might hesitate to put their money into companies they now perceive as vulnerable, especially those with really high valuations that might not hold up if the competition intensifies.
We're already seeing some signs of that just in how the market has reacted. While there have been some signs of a slight recovery in the futures for the Nasdaq and S&P 500, that initial sell-off was a clear indicator of how quickly sentiment can turn when investors sense a real threat.
This really highlights the importance of adaptability for companies. Those who can adjust their strategies and business models to navigate these new challenges are going to be in a much better position to weather any storm. That means being willing to look at everything with fresh eyes, reassess their spending, shift their R&D priorities, and maybe even rethink some of their core values. If cost effectiveness is going to become the key differentiator in the AI market, companies need to figure out how to streamline their operations and deliver value without breaking the bank.
It's not just about cutting costs, though. It's also about creating a culture of innovation and agility. Companies need to be able to anticipate and respond to market shifts quickly, whether that means developing new technologies, exploring new partnerships, or even acquiring smaller companies with really specific expertise.
This situation also brings up some interesting questions about where AI development itself is headed. If companies like DeepSeek can create high-performing AI models for a fraction of the cost, could this lead to a wider democratization of access to this technology?
That's a fascinating point. Imagine the possibilities if smaller businesses, startups, and independent researchers suddenly have access to the same level of AI capabilities as the giants. It could unlock a wave of creativity and innovation we haven't seen before.
But of course, with that kind of widespread access comes some potential downsides, like the ethical considerations and the potential for misuse of the technology.
You're absolutely right. As AI becomes more powerful and more ubiquitous, it's crucial to establish clear ethical guidelines and regulatory frameworks to ensure that this technology is used responsibly. We need to be thinking about the benefit of society as a whole.
We've already seen how AI can be a double-edged sword, and as development accelerates, it becomes even more crucial to have these conversations about responsible innovation and ethical boundaries. It's not just about who gets to the finish line first in the AI race, it's about making sure that everyone benefits from the journey.
This situation with DeepSeek is a prime example of how technological leaps can have far-reaching consequences, both positive and negative. It's a reminder that we need to be proactive and thoughtful in shaping the future of AI.
Not just reacting to whatever happens to come our way.
Right. We need to be asking ourselves tough questions.
Like what kind of questions?
Like what kind of questions? Like how do we balance the incredible potential of AI with the need to mitigate potential risks? How do we ensure equitable access to this technology while preventing its misuse? How do we prepare our workforce for the changes AI will inevitably bring to the job market?
These are all questions that deserve careful consideration and open dialogue.
Absolutely. And they're not just questions for tech companies or policymakers. They're questions for all of us.
Because AI is going to touch every aspect of our lives in some way. And it's important that we're all part of the conversation about its development and its impact.
I think DeepSeek's entry into the AI arena serves as a powerful reminder that the future is not predetermined.
It's something we actively shape through our choices and actions.
And that's both exciting and a little daunting, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. But I also think it's an incredible opportunity, an opportunity to really think critically about the kind of future we want to build with AI and to work together to make that vision a reality.
It's a reminder that we're not just sitting back and watching this technological revolution happen around us.
We're active participants, and the choices we make today are going to have a huge impact on the world we'll be living in tomorrow.
This whole situation also brings up some interesting questions about the future of global economic power. If cost effectiveness becomes a driving force in technological advancement, could we see a shift away from those traditional hubs of innovation, like Silicon Valley?
Toward regions with lower labor and production costs, that would definitely shake things up.
It could have massive consequences for global trade, investment, and even geopolitical relationships. It's a good reminder that the world is becoming increasingly interconnected, and technological innovation can quickly overturn existing power structures.
So where do we go from here? What should investors, tech companies, and policymakers be focusing on in light of this new landscape?
I think the key takeaway here is that we can't just assume things will stay the same. Companies, especially those in tech, need to be flexible, innovative, and willing to embrace change.
It's like survival of the fittest in a way.
Exactly. Investors need to be more cautious about concentration risk and really consider the long-term implications of these shifting dynamics. Policymakers need to be proactive in creating a regulatory environment that encourages responsible AI development while addressing those potential ethical concerns.
It's a call to action for everyone involved to really step back and think critically about the future of AI and its impact on the world. It's a reminder that this story is far from over. This situation with DeepSeek is just one chapter in a much bigger narrative that's still being written.
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want more in-depth analysis and discussions on the latest tech trends. Thanks for joining us.